My wife's fitness tracker told me she was cheating before I ever found direct evidence. Then I let her dig her own grave. I'm a data analyst. It's not just my job, it's how my brain works. I see patterns in everything. When grocery store sales spike on certain days, I notice. When traffic patterns shift by 3 minutes during specific weather conditions, track it. When my wife's heart rate spikes to 142 BPM at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when she's supposedly doing yoga alone, I can't help but analyze what that means. Hey Reddit, this is the story of how my wife's fitness tracker, location data, and spending patterns told me she was having an affair before I ever found direct evidence, and how my analytical mind, the same trait she always called robotic and cold, became the weapon that exposed her betrayal and protected my children. I'm Marcus, 37 years old, and what I'm about to tell you will make you reconsider every data point your partner generates and whether you're really seeing the full picture. You know that feeling when something doesn't add up, but you can't quite articulate why? When the numbers don't match the narrative, but everyone tells you you're overthinking it? That's where this story goes. But let me start from the beginning, because to understand how I used data to uncover my wife's affair, you need to understand who I am and how my mind processes information differently than most people. I met Nina 12 years ago when I was 25 and she was 23. I was working as a junior data analyst at a healthcare analytics firm, making about $52,000 a year. Nina was finishing her physical therapy degree, working part-time at a rehabilitation. We met at a friend's wedding. She was a bridesmaid, I was a groomsman. We connected over our shared interest in health and fitness, though from different angles. She loved the physical, kinesthetic aspects of movement and healing. I loved the data behind it: biomechanics, recovery metrics, performance. You think about fitness like a spreadsheet. She'd tease me on our early dates. Everything is numbers and correlations. And you think about it like interpretive dance, I'd counter. All feeling and intuition. It worked somehow. Her warmth balanced my analytical nature. My structure balanced her spontaneity. We complemented each other in ways that felt sustainable and healthy. We dated for 2 years. During that time, I got promoted twice. First to data analyst making $68,000, then to senior data analyst at $85,000. Nina graduated and started working full-time as a physical therapist making $62,000. We were both career-focused, both financially stable, both ready to build a life together. We got married when I was 27 and Nina was 25. Modest wedding, about 100 guests. Beautiful ceremony. Nina was radiant, happy, excited about our future. In the wedding photos, we looked genuinely in love, and we were. That part wasn't fake. The first few years of marriage were good. We both worked hard. I was putting in 50-hour weeks, climbing the corporate ladder in healthcare analytics. Nina was building her reputation at a growing physical therapy practice. We bought a 3-bedroom house in a family-friendly neighborhood, started talking about kids. At 30, I got promoted to lead data analyst, making $105,000. Nina was making $68,000 as a senior physical therapist. We felt financially ready for children. After a few months of trying, Nina got pregnant with twins, boys, Ethan and Lucas, born when I was 31 and Nina was 29. Identical, beautiful, perfect, also exhausting. Twin infants tested our marriage in ways we hadn't anticipated. Sleep deprivation, constant demands, financial stress from daycare costs, the logistical nightmare of managing 2 babies simultaneously. But we managed. Nina took 6 months of maternity leave, then went back to work 4 days per week instead of 5. I negotiated a hybrid work schedule, 3 days in the office, 2 days working from home so I could help with the boys more. We hired a nanny for the days we both worked, developed routines, found our rhythm. As the twins grew, life stabilized. By the time they were in kindergarten, Nina and I had settled into what felt like a sustainable partnership. We weren't wildly romantic anymore. Who has energy for that with twin 5-year-olds? But we were solid, cooperative, functional. I thought we were happy. 2 years ago, when I was 35, I got promoted again to Senior Data Analytics Manager, making $125,000. The promotion meant more responsibility, but also more flexibility. I could work from home 4 days a week, only going into the office on Mondays. This meant I was the primary parent for pickup, homework, activities, dinner most days while Nina worked her full-time schedule at the clinic. Nina seemed happy with this arrangement. "You're so good with them," she'd say. "They're lucky to have a dad who's so present." I was present, did school pickup 4 days a week, helped with homework, coached their soccer team, made dinner most nights, gave baths, and read bedtime stories. Meanwhile, Nina worked her clinical schedule, came home around 6:30 p.m., helped with the bedtime routine, then often retreated to watch TV or scroll her phone. I didn't resent this imbalance initially. I loved being present for my sons. And Nina's physical therapy work was demanding. She was on her feet all day, working with patients, physically exhausted. Of course, she needed downtime when she got home. But about 6 months ago, something shifted. Nina announced she was starting a fitness journey. "I need to take better care of myself," she explained. "I've gained weight since the twins. I feel sluggish and out of shape. I'm joining CrossFit." "That's great," I said, supportive. "Which gym?" "Iron Forge CrossFit. It's near my clinic. I can go right after work before coming home." "Sounds perfect. I'm proud of you for prioritizing your health." I was. Nina had always been active but had let fitness slide during the chaos. Her wanting to reclaim that part of herself seemed healthy and normal. She joined Iron Forge in March, started going 3 times per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday afternoons, right after her clinic shift ended at 5 p.m. She'd get home around 7 p.m. instead of 6:30 p.m., shower, eat the dinner I'd saved for her, then crash on the couch exhausted from her workout. "How was CrossFit?" I'd ask. "Brutal, but good. I'm so out of shape, but I'll get there." She bought new workout clothes, downloaded fitness tracking apps, got a new fitness watch that tracked her heart rate, calories, steps, everything. She was excited about her progress, constantly checking her metrics, talking about her PRs, personal records in various exercises. I was genuinely happy for her. And as a data person, I was intrigued by all the metrics her fitness watch generated. "Want to sync our fitness apps?" I suggested one evening in April. "We could have a friendly competition, see who gets more steps, who burns more calories, make it fun." Nina hesitated briefly, so briefly I almost didn't notice, then smiled. "Sure, that sounds fun." We synced our apps, created a shared dashboard where we could see each other's fitness data. Steps, heart rate, active minutes, calories burned, workout types. I found it motivating. Nina seemed less enthusiastic than I'd expected, but I figured she just wasn't as into the data side of fitness as I was. That's when I started noticing anomalies. Small things, inconsistencies that individually meant nothing but collectively formed a pattern my analyst brain couldn't ignore. Anomaly number 1, Nina's CrossFit classes were 60 minutes according to the gym's schedule, but her active workout time according to her fitness tracker was consistently 90-120 minutes on CrossFit days. When I asked about the discrepancy, she explained that she arrived early to warm up and stayed late to stretch and foam roll. Reasonable explanation. I accepted it. Anomaly 2. Nina's heart rate during CrossFit sessions would spike to 145-155 BPM during the workout portions, consistent with high-intensity interval training. But on several occasions, I noticed secondary heart rate spikes occurring 30-45 minutes after her workout supposedly ended. Not sustained elevated heart rate from continued exercise, but distinct spikes up to 142 BPM for 15-20 minutes, then back down. When I casually mentioned it, Nina said it must be from her drive home in stressful traffic. But her heart rate had never spiked during her commute before she started CrossFit. Inconsistent explanation. My analyst brain flagged it. Anomaly 33. Nina's location data, she'd enabled location sharing with me for safety purposes, showed her car parked at the Iron Forge CrossFit gym for 2.5-3.5 hours on CrossFit days, but classes were 60 minutes, and even with warm-up and cool-down, that was at most 90 minutes. What was she doing for the extra hour or more? When I asked, she said she often chatted with other members after class, that the community aspect was part of what she loved about CrossFit. Plausible explanation, but it nagged at me. Anomaly 304. Our credit card statement showed charges at a coffee shop called Brew Haven, located 0.3 miles from Iron Forge CrossFit. Small charges, $8, $12, $15, so showing up every week or two. Nina never mentioned stopping for coffee. When I asked about it casually, she said sometimes she grabbed a post-workout smoothie, but she'd never brought one home, never mentioned it, and the charges were labeled as Brew Haven coffee, not smoothies. Minor discrepancy, but added to the pattern. Anomaly number 5. Nina's girls' night out tradition had been sporadic, maybe once a month on random Fridays or Saturdays with her college friends, but starting in April, her girls' nights shifted to a rigid pattern. Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. to midnight, she'd come home from CrossFit, shower quickly, change into nice but casual clothes, and leave for girls' night every single Wednesday. When I commented on the new regularity, she said her friends had decided to make it a weekly standing thing. But when I checked social media, I didn't see weekly posts from her friends about these gatherings. Behavioral change without supporting evidence? Suspicious? By May, I had 5 distinct anomalies. Individually, each had a reasonable explanation Nina had provided, but collectively, the probability of all 5 anomalies occurring simultaneously and independently was statistically unlikely. I started paying closer attention, not confronting, just observing and documenting. I noticed Nina had become secretive with her phone, would angle the screen away when texting, would step outside to take certain calls. When I'd ask who called, she'd say just a friend or mom or someone from the clinic. Vague answers, unverifiable. I noticed she'd started putting more effort into her appearance on CrossFit days, not dramatically, but noticeably. Better outfits for work, more attention to hair and makeup, new perfume. Looking good isn't suspicious on its own, but the pattern, specifically on CrossFit days, added to the data set. I noticed her intimacy with me had decreased. We'd gone from sex 2-3 times per week to maybe once every 2 weeks. When I initiated, she was often too tired from CrossFit, or sore from workouts, or just not in the mood. Again, not inherently suspicious. Lots of couples experience fluctuating intimacy, but combined with everything else, another data point. In June, I did something I'd never done before. I looked at Nina's Instagram follows. She'd recently followed someone named Jake Fit Coach, who, according to his profile, was a personal trainer and CrossFit coach at Iron Forge. His posts showed him training clients, posting workout tips, and sharing motivational content. Professional, nothing inappropriate, but Nina had never mentioned having a personal trainer. When I casually asked if she worked with any trainers at CrossFit, she said, "Not really, just take the group classes." Not really, evasive language, another flag. I started noticing Jake's Instagram stories. He posted regularly gym content, client success stories, workout tips. And every Wednesday night, he posted stories from what appeared to be evening training sessions. Late night grind with dedicated clients, with gym footage time-stamped 8 to 10 p.m., the same time Nina was supposedly at girls' night. Correlation isn't causation. I knew that professionally, but when you have multiple correlations pointing in the same direction, probability suggests causation. I didn't want to believe it. This was Nina, my wife of 11 years, mother of my children, the woman I'd built a life with. The idea that she'd cheat on me with a CrossFit trainer, no less, such a cliche, felt impossible. But the data doesn't lie. That's what I'd built my career on: numbers, patterns, evidence-based analysis. And all the data was pointing toward one conclusion I desperately didn't want to accept. In July, I decided to test a hypothesis. I suggested we have a date night on a Wednesday. You could skip girls' night this week. We haven't had quality time together in months. Nina's reaction was immediate and defensive. I can't just skip. The girls are counting on me. We have plans. What plans specifically? Just dinner and drinks, the usual? Where are you going? We haven't decided yet. Why are you interrogating me? I wasn't interrogating. I was asking basic questions about her evening plans, but she'd framed my curiosity as aggressive questioning, classic deflection technique, another red flag. That Wednesday, after Nina left for girls' night, I checked her location on our shared app. Her car was at Brew Haven Coffee Shop, the same one that kept appearing on our credit card statement. She stayed there for 45 minutes, then her location went dark. Either she'd turned off location services or gone somewhere without cell service. She came home at 12:30 a.m., slightly tipsy, smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. How was girls' night? Fun. Needed that. Where did you end up going? A new wine bar downtown. You wouldn't like it. The next morning, I checked our credit card statement. No charges from Wednesday night. If she'd gone to dinner and drinks with friends, there should have been charges. Nina always used our joint credit card for social outings, but nothing. Either she'd paid cash, which she never did, or someone else had paid, someone who didn't want a paper trail. By August, I had 15 distinct anomalies documented in a private spreadsheet I kept on my work laptop. Behavioral changes, schedule irregularities, financial discrepancies, location data inconsistencies, and physiological metrics that didn't match Nina's stated activities. The probability that all 15 anomalies were coincidental or individually, by my calculations, less than 3%, which meant there was a 97% probability that something Nina wasn't telling me was happening. But I still didn't have proof, just data points and statistical probability. My logical brain needed definitive evidence before I could act on my suspicions. Then came the Wednesday in late August that changed everything. Nina had gone to girls' night as usual. I'd put the boys to bed, cleaned the kitchen, and sat down with my laptop to work on a project. Around 10 p.m., I needed a file that Nina had stored in our shared cloud photo backup. We used it for family photos, storing everything automatically so we didn't lose precious memories of the boys. I logged into the shared cloud account and went to find the document. While scrolling through recently uploaded files, I saw something that stopped me cold. A photo uploaded that afternoon at 3:42 p.m. It showed the interior of a car I didn't recognize. In the driver's seat was a muscular man in a tank top smiling at the camera. In the passenger seat was Nina, her hand resting casually on his thigh, both of them sweaty and flushed, looking at each other with an intimacy that made my stomach drop. The photo had metadata, GPS coordinates that placed it 0.2 miles from Iron Forge CrossFit, timestamp 3:42 p.m., which was during the time Nina had texted me saying she was finishing up at the clinic. I zoomed in on the man's face, muscular, early 30s, attractive in that fitness model way. I recognized him from Instagram, Jake Archer's fit coach, Nina's CrossFit trainer she'd claimed she didn't really work with. The photo had been taken on Nina's phone. I could tell from the image quality and format. She must have accidentally had auto-upload enabled and didn't realize the photo had synced to our shared family cloud account. I sat there staring at that photo for I don't know how long. Minutes, hours, time felt meaningless. Everything I'd suspected, all the anomalies I'd documented, every data point that hadn't added up. This photo confirmed all of it. My wife was having an affair with her CrossFit trainer. The cliche was almost funny if it wasn't destroying my life. I downloaded the photo to 3 separate locations, saved it to an encrypted folder on my work laptop, emailed it to a private email account Nina didn't know about, and uploaded it to a separate cloud storage account. Whatever happened next, I needed this evidence preserved and protected. Then I sat in my home office, in the house I'd bought with my wife, where my children slept peacefully down the hall, and I processed what this meant. Nina had been lying to me for months. The CrossFit sessions that ran long, the heart rate spikes that didn't match her stated activities, the Wednesday girls' nights that coincided with Jake's evening training sessions, the secretive phone behavior, the decreased intimacy, the cologne I didn't wear. All of it made sense now. The data had been telling me the truth all along. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. I checked the timestamp on the photo again, 3:42 p.m. Nina had texted me at 3:15 p.m. Running late at clinic, might miss CrossFit today. But the photo taken 27 minutes later showed her very much not at the clinic. Showed her in Jake's car, her hand on his thigh, both of them looking at each other like they just shared something intimate. I felt physically ill, betrayed in ways I couldn't articulate, but beneath the emotional devastation, my analytical brain was already working, processing, planning. Because here's what Nina didn't understand about me. Being analytical doesn't mean being emotionless. It means processing emotions through logic, through strategy, through careful planning, rather than impulsive reaction. She'd made a mistake uploading that photo, a technical error that exposed her affair, and she had no idea I'd found it, which gave me an advantage. Information asymmetry, I knew the truth. She thought I was still oblivious. And in data analytics, information asymmetry is power. I didn't confront Nina that night when she came home from girls' night at 12:30 a.m. smelling like wine and someone else's cologne. I didn't yell or accuse or demand explanations. I smiled at her, asked how her evening was, went to bed next to her like everything was normal, because confronting her emotionally in the moment would have been reactive, chaotic, potentially damaging to my position in whatever was coming next. Instead, I was going to do what I do best: gather data, build a comprehensive case, analyze the full scope of the situation, and execute a strategic response that protected me and my children. Nina thought she was being clever, thought her carefully managed double life, devoted wife and mother on one side, affair with her trainer on the other, was sustainable because I was too analytical, too focused on my work and the boys, too trusting to notice what was happening. She was right that I was analytical, wrong that it made me oblivious. And she was about to learn that the same skills I used to identify patterns in healthcare data could be applied to identifying patterns in her behavior, that the same meticulous documentation I brought to my professional work could be brought to building a case against her infidelity, that the same strategic thinking I used to solve complex problems could be used to protect myself and my sons from the fallout of her betrayal. The data had revealed the truth. Now I just needed to decide what to do with it. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo, Nina's hand on Jake's thigh, their sweaty post-workout glow, the intimacy in how they looked at each other. My wife of 11 years betraying me with her CrossFit trainer in the most cliched way possible, but beneath the emotional devastation, my analytical mind was already working, processing, planning, because reacting emotionally would be counterproductive. What I needed was a strategy. Comprehensive, well-documented, executed with precision. At 3 a.m., while Nina slept peacefully beside me, oblivious that I knew her secret, I went to my home office and opened a new encrypted file on my laptop. I titled it Case File Nina and began systematically organizing everything I knew. I created multiple tabs in my spreadsheet. Timeline. Every anomaly documented with dates, times, and supporting evidence. Financial data. Credit card charges, unusual patterns, unexplained expenses, location data, GPS coordinates from her fitness tracker and phone, physiological metrics, heart rate spikes, active minutes, patterns that didn't match stated activities, communications, screenshots of evasive text messages, vague explanations, social media. Jake's posting patterns correlated with Nina's schedule. Photographic evidence, the accidental cloud upload that started everything by 5 a.m. I had a comprehensive data visualization showing 6 months of Nina's affair mapped against her stated activities. The discrepancies were impossible to any reasonable person looking at this evidence would reach the same conclusion. Nina was cheating. But I needed more. Because in divorce proceedings, especially custody battles, you can't just have suspicions or circumstantial evidence. You need irrefutable proof, documents so thorough that there's no room for alternative explanations or manipulated narrative. At 8 a.m., after getting the boys ready for school and seeing Nina off to work, she kissed me goodbye like nothing was wrong, which made my stomach turn. I started making calls. First call, a family law attorney specializing in high-conflict divorces. I need a consultation. Today, if possible, I have evidence of my wife's infidelity, and I need to understand my options before confronting her. The receptionist heard the urgency in my voice. Mr. Chen can see you at 2 p.m. Bring any documentation you have. David Chen was 58, sharp-eyed, with the calculated demeanor of someone who'd handled hundreds of divorce cases. I spent 90 minutes walking him through my evidence. The spreadsheets, the timeline, the financial data, the photo. He was impressed. In 26 years of practice, I've never seen a client come in with this level of documentation before even confronting their spouse. Most people discover an affair and immediately blow up, destroying their strategic position. I'm a data analyst. Documentation is what I do. Well, it's going to serve you extremely well. With this evidence, we can build a strong case for primary custody, especially since you're already the more present parent. Your wife's affair, conducted during times she claimed to be at work or social events, demonstrates poor judgment and dishonesty that courts consider when evaluating fitness for custody. What's my next move? Gather more evidence. Deleted text messages. If you can recover them, most people don't realize deleted text can be retrieved with the right software. Document everything she does over the next few weeks. Create an unimpeachable timeline. Then, when we have everything we need, We confront her in a controlled environment where she can't deflect or manipulate the narrative. What kind of controlled environment? Marriage counseling is you book a session, bring her there under the pretense of working on the marriage, then present all the evidence with a neutral third party present. Forces her to confront the truth without being able to spin it or make you the villain. Then we serve divorce papers immediately afterward. That's actually brilliant. I've done this before, it works. Gives you the moral high ground, shows you attempted reconciliation in good faith, and creates documentation that she was dishonest even when given opportunity to be truthful in therapy. I hired Chen that day. His retainer was $7,500, but it was worth every penny for the strategic advantage his experience provided. Over the next 3 weeks, I became a man on a mission. Not an angry, emotional mission, a calculated, methodical one. I purchased data recovery software and used it on our shared computer that Nina occasionally used. Recovered 247 deleted text messages between Nina and Jake dating back 4 months. The content was damning. Jake: can't stop thinking about yesterday. You're amazing. Nina: oh, I know we shouldn't, but I can't help it. You make me feel alive again. Nina: Aiden thinks I'm at girls' night. I have until midnight. Jake: my place or the usual spot? Nina: yours. I need to actually be with you, not just stolen moments in your car. Jake: when are you going to tell him? Nina: I don't know, the boys. It's complicated. Can we just enjoy what we have for now? Hundreds of messages revealing the full scope of their affair. The lies Nina told me. The times she'd been with Jake when she claimed to be her apparent conflict about whether to leave me, but unwillingness to give up the stability I provided. I saved everything. Printed physical copies, stored digital backups in 3 separate locations. I pulled all our financial records for the past year. Found $847 in charges to Brew Haven Coffee Shop, their meeting spot. Found $235 at a hotel I didn't recognize, charged on a Saturday when Nina claimed she was at a nursing conference. Found $89 at a wine bar on a Wednesday when she was supposedly at girls' night with friends, but the credit card statement showed a charge for 2 drinks, not a group tab. I documented her location data for every single day over the past 6 months. Created a map visualization showing everywhere she'd actually been versus where she told me she was. The discrepancies were stark and undeniable. I interviewed our nanny casually, asking about the boys' routines, learned that Nina often didn't call to check on them during the day like I did, that when she came home, she'd typically scroll her phone rather than engage with homework or activities, building a case that while Nina lived in the house, I was the primary active parent. Then I made a decision that felt risky but necessary. I joined Iron Forge CrossFit. I want to get in better shape, I told Nina one evening. You've been going to CrossFit for months and you look amazing. I'm thinking of joining. I watched her face carefully. She looked panicked for a split second, then forced a smile. Oh, that's great, but maybe a different gym. Iron Forge is kind of my thing, my space. I'd feel weird working out with you there. Why would it be weird? We could be workout buddies. I like having something that's mine, you know? Separate from family stuff. Classic deflection. She didn't want me at Iron Forge because Jake was there, but I pushed back gently. I get wanting your own space. But Iron Forge has the best reviews in the area. It's near both our workplaces, and I want to go somewhere quality. Tell you what, I'll go to different class times than you so we're not on top of each other. You can keep your space. She couldn't argue without seeming unreasonable. Okay, yeah, that works. I joined Iron Forge the next week, signed up for early morning classes, 6 a.m. before work, while Nina went to 5 p.m. classes after work. Different times, different crowds, no overlap, except I started going to some evening classes too. Classes I didn't tell Nina about. Classes where I could observe her interact with Jake. The first time I saw them together, I almost lost my composure. The way he touched her lower back while correcting her form, the way she laughed at his jokes, that same excessive laughter I'd noticed at home, the lingering eye contact, the casual intimacy of people who'd seen each other naked. But I maintained control, worked out, played the friendly new member, started casually talking to other gym members, building rapport. I befriended a woman named Sarah who'd been going to Iron Forge for 2 years. Over post-workout smoothies, at Brew Haven ironically, I learned valuable information. Jake's a great trainer, Sarah said, but he's kind of known for getting involved with clients, if you know what I mean. Really? Yeah, there was this whole thing last year with a married woman. Her husband found out, complained to the gym, but nothing came of it. Jake's the most popular trainer, so management looks the other way. That's problematic. Super problematic. I've seen him with at least 3 different female clients in situations that looked inappropriate. But he's careful. Never on gym property. Always after hours. Corporate doesn't care as long as it doesn't affect membership numbers. This was useful information. Very useful. I started documenting Jake's behavior, noticed he had particular attention for several female clients, noticed he'd schedule extra sessions with certain women. Noticed the pattern of boundary-crossing behavior that any corporate HR department would consider a liability. 3 weeks into my Ironforge membership, I'd built enough rapport that people talked freely around me. I learned that Jake had been fired from his previous gym for sleeping with a client. I learned he was already on thin ice with Ironforge management. I learned that corporate had recently implemented new policies about trainer-client relationships after legal issues at another location. Armed with this information, I made an anonymous complaint to Ironforge corporate headquarters, detailed, professional, with specific dates and observations of Jake's inappropriate behavior with multiple clients, included screenshots from his social media showing him at bars with clients, in contexts that violated the company's new professional conduct policies. I didn't mention Nina, didn't need to. Jake had been inappropriate with enough other women that corporate had plenty of material to act on. 4 days later, Jake was fired. I learned this from Sarah, who texted the gym group chat. OMG, Jake got fired, something about policy violations. So sudden. That evening, Nina was agitated, distracted, kept checking her phone and looking stressed. Everything okay? I asked innocently. Yeah, just work stuff. She wasn't at work. She was panicking because her affair partner had just lost his job and she didn't know what it meant for their relationship. Over the next week, I watched Nina spiral. She was irritable, distant, clearly upset about something she couldn't tell me. Her girls' nights stopped because Jake wasn't available for their Wednesday meetings anymore. Her gym attendance became sporadic because seeing Ironforge without Jake was apparently too painful. Meanwhile, I continued documenting everything. Her emotional distance, her phone's secretiveness, her anxiety that she couldn't explain. Then I made the final move in my strategy. I booked marriage counseling. Nina, I think we should see a couples therapist, I said one Sunday morning. I feel like we've been distant lately, like something's off between us. I want to work on our marriage before it gets worse. She looked trapped. If she refused therapy, it would seem like she didn't care about the marriage. If she agreed, she'd have to sit in a room and lie about her affair. Lose-lose situation for her, perfect situation for me. Okay, she said quietly. Yeah, maybe that would help. I booked an appointment with Dr. Rebecca Martinez, a licensed marriage and family therapist Chen had recommended, told Nina the appointment was at 6 p.m. on Thursday, that my mom would watch the boys. Thursday arrived, I'd prepared meticulously. Printed copies of everything, the photo, the recovered texts, the financial records, the timeline, the location data, put it all in a folder that I carried into Dr. Martinez's office. Nina arrived thinking we were going to talk about communication problems or work-life balance or whatever generic issues she had identified. Dr. Martinez started with standard opening questions. What brings you to therapy today? I looked at Nina, then at Dr. Martinez. I discovered my wife is having an affair with her CrossFit trainer. I'm here to confront her with evidence in a neutral setting before I file for divorce. Nina's face went white. What? Aiden? Please don't lie anymore. I opened the folder, pulled out the photo, handed it to Dr. Martinez. This photo was accidentally uploaded to our shared cloud account. It shows my wife with Jake Thompson, her trainer at Ironforge CrossFit. They're in his car, clearly intimate. On a day she told me she was working late at her clinic, Dr. Martinez looked at the photo, looked at Nina, maintained professional neutrality. Nina, is this accurate? Nina's eyes filled with tears. She looked at me, then at the photo, then at the floor. I don't know what to say. You could start with the truth? I pulled out the printed text messages, handed them to Dr. Martinez. I recovered deleted messages between Nina and Jake dating back 4 months. They explicitly discussed their affair, the lies she told me, and meeting times that coincide with her girls' nights. Dr. Martinez scanned the messages. Her professional neutrality cracked slightly. I saw disapproval flash across her face. Nina, these messages are quite explicit. They show ongoing deception and infidelity. Is this your phone number? Nina was crying. Yes, but Aiden, you went through my phone? That's a violation of don't. My voice was calm but firm. You don't get to make me the villain here. I recovered deleted messages after multiple anomalies in your behavior led me to suspect infidelity. The violation isn't me finding evidence, it's you having an affair. I pulled out the financial records. These show $800 in charges to Brew Haven Coffee Shop over 6 months, the place near your gym where you'd meet Jake. These show hotel charges on days you claim to be at conferences. These show wine bar charges when you claim to be at group dinners with friends. Dr. Martinez was no longer neutral. She looked at Nina with something approaching pity. Nina, these are serious breaches of trust. What do you have to say? Nina sobbed. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It just happened. Jake made me feel seen, appreciated. Aiden was always working or with the boys. I felt invisible. Jake paid attention to me. I work from home 4 days a week so I can be present for our children, I said, my voice still eerily calm. I do school pickup, homework help, dinner, bedtime routines. I do this so you can work full-time at a career you love. And your response to my involvement with our sons is to have an affair with your trainer while I parent the children we made together? I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I looked at Dr. Martinez. For the record, I'm not here to save this marriage. I'm here to document that I attempted counseling in good faith before filing for divorce. I wanted Nina to have the opportunity to be honest in a professional setting, to show that even after discovering her affair, I tried to handle this maturely. I handed Nina a manila envelope I'd been holding. These are divorce papers. I filed this morning. You're being served now. Nina stared at the envelope like it was a snake. You're divorcing me? Yes. I'm seeking primary custody of Ethan and Lucas based on your demonstrated poor judgment, ongoing deception, and the fact that I'm already the primary caretaker. You'll have visitation, but the boys will live with me. You can't take my children. I'm not taking them. I'm providing them stability with the parent who's been present and honest. You're welcome to contest custody, but given the evidence I have, I don't recommend it. Dr. Martinez intervened. Aiden, Nina, this is clearly a very high conflict situation. Nina, do you have anything you want to say? Nina looked at me, tears streaming. How long have you known? 6 weeks? Since I found the photo you accidentally uploaded. And you just pretended everything was normal while planning all this? Yes, because confronting you emotionally would have been reactive and unproductive. I needed to gather comprehensive evidence and execute a strategic response. That's cold, Aiden. That's so cold. No, Nina. What's cold is sleeping with another man while your husband raises your children. What's cold is lying for months while I trusted you completely. What's cold is accusing me of being robotic and unfeeling, when really I was just being methodical about protecting myself and our sons from the fallout of your betrayal. The session ended shortly after. Dr. Martinez suggested individual therapy for both of us. Nina left in tears, clutching the divorce papers. I left feeling emotionally drained but strategically satisfied. The fallout was swift and comprehensive. Nina hired an attorney and tried to fight for custody. Her lawyer argued that I'd been duplicitous by not immediately confronting Nina when I discovered the affair, that my calculated approach showed I was manipulative and controlling. Chen destroyed that argument in court. My client discovered his wife's infidelity and responded by documenting evidence and consulting legal counsel before confronting her. This shows remarkable restraint and maturity. Mrs. Harrison, on the other hand, conducted a months-long affair involving systematic deception, financial impropriety, and using marital assets to fund her infidelity. Who demonstrated poor judgment here? The judge agreed, awarded me primary custody. 70-30 split. The boys would live with me during the week, go to Nina's every other weekend. I kept the house since I was the primary custodial parent and could afford it on my income. Nina moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. Our friend group largely sided with me once they learned the truth. I didn't blast Nina publicly, didn't need to, but when close friends asked why we were divorcing, I told them honestly, she'd had an affair with her trainer. I discovered it. She'd been lying for months. The evidence was undeniable. Sarah from the gym was particularly supportive. I wondered if something was going on between Nina and Jake. The way they interacted, I'm sorry you went through that. Jake, meanwhile, had left town, moved to another state, presumably to escape his reputation. Last I heard, he was working at a different gym, likely running the same playbook with new clients. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I was adjusting to my new reality. Single dad with primary custody, co-parenting with an ex-wife I couldn't trust, rebuilding my life from the wreckage of Nina's betrayal. But I was okay. The boys were okay. We had routines, stability, honesty. I'd started therapy with Dr. Martinez individually, working through trust issues and the complicated grief of losing a marriage. You handled the discovery very analytically, Dr. Martinez observed in one session. Do you ever regret not confronting Nina immediately? Not giving her a chance to explain or apologize before building your case? No, as the evidence I gathered protected my sons. Without that documentation, custody might have been 50-50. Nina might have moved them to a different school district. I might have lost half my time with them. My analytical approach wasn't cold, it was protective. That's a healthy perspective. 1 year after discovering Nina's affair, I started dating again. Met someone named Rebecca, different Rebecca, through a friend. She was a teacher, divorced herself, understood the complexities of co-parenting and rebuilding trust. I told her about Nina and Jake on our third date. Showed her the whole story, the data analysis, the evidence gathering, the strategic confrontation. Her response? That's the most methodical response to infidelity I've ever heard. Most people would have exploded. You built a case. I'm a data analyst. It's how my brain works. It's impressive. Shows you can separate emotion from strategy when necessary. That's actually really attractive. 2 years after the divorce, I'm 39. The boys are 10 and thrive. They split time between my house and Nina's apartment, but I'm their primary home. I see them every weekday, help with homework, coach their soccer teams, remain present and involved. Nina is 37 now, working full-time at her clinic, living modestly in her apartment, dating occasionally, but nothing serious. She has the boys every other weekend. Our co-parenting is functional but distant. We communicate about the boys via email and a shared calendar app. Keep interactions minimal and professional. I'm still with Rebecca. We're talking about moving in together eventually, though I'm cautious about introducing major changes to the boys' routine. She understands and appreciates my thoughtfulness. Sometimes people ask if I regret my analytical approach to Nina's infidelity. If I wish I'd been more emotional, more forgiving, more willing to try counseling before divorce. My answer, absolutely not, because my analytical nature, the trait Nina always criticized as cold and robotic, was exactly what I needed to protect myself and my children from the full impact of her betrayal. The data revealed the truth months before I found definitive proof. My willingness to trust that data, document everything, and execute a strategic response meant I controlled the narrative, protected my custody rights, and emerged from divorce in the strongest possible position. Nina thought my analytical nature made me oblivious, that I was too focused on numbers and patterns to notice what was happening in my own marriage. She was wrong. My analytical nature made me observant, made me notice anomalies others would dismiss, made me capable of building an irrefutable case when others would rely on emotion and accusations. 3 years after discovering that accidentally uploaded photo, I'm 40. The pain has faded to a dull ache. I rarely think about Nina and Jake anymore, except when co-parenting logistics require it. My life now is better than it was during my marriage. It's built on honesty, transparency, and a relationship with Rebecca who values communication and trust. The boys are happy, adjusted, confident in their routines, and knowing both parents love them. And Nina? She lives with the consequences of her choices. The damaged relationship with her sons who see her as the parent who left, the modest apartment instead of the family home, the reputation in our social circle as someone who destroyed her family for a CrossFit trainer. I don't take pleasure in her struggles, but I don't feel guilty about them either. She made her choices, I made mine, and my choices. Methodical, data-driven, strategically executed, protected the people who mattered most. The final lesson I learned? Trust your data. Whether it's fitness metrics that don't match stated activities, location data that contradicts the narrative, or behavioral patterns that suggest deception, data doesn't lie, people lie, numbers don't. And when you're married to someone whose words contradict the data they generate, trust the data every time.